Welcome to the Elevate podcast. This series focuses on elevating and inspiring women and girls into or to remain in the tech sector from the classroom to the boardroom. I'm Kelly Kwarteng, founder and CEO of Helzac and host of the show.
Thanks for joining us today on this episode of Elevate Women in Tech Female Founders series. Today we're speaking to Chelsea Maffia, founder and CEO of Play Morgan Studios. Chelsea is on a mission to revolutionise education through gamification, making learning an absolute blast for people of all ages. Her dedication to turning education into an engaging experience is truly inspiring. At Play Morgan Studios, Chelsea and her team are working tirelessly to transform the way we learn and empower individuals to reach their full potential. They're all about creating innovative solutions that make education accessible, easy, and most importantly, fun for everyone. Chelsea, it's an absolute honour to have you on the episode today. So thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you, Kelly. Lovely to be here.
No worries. So if it's all right with you, let's kind of kick start, and I'm going to hand the reins over to you, so to speak. If you could give us a brief overview of Play Morgan Studios and what inspired you to start the company.
Yeah, of course. So as I say, we're an EdTech startup solely focused on the gamification of education. Essentially, we take mobile games and applications and kind of put in a subtle and subconscious educational element just to help remove the formalities of learning and create more of a fun learning experience for people who are willing to learn something new at any age of their life. It can be hard, especially when you've got loads of things going on, to learn something new, and especially something so hard. So yeah, we're focused on language learning and kind of just removing those formalities of learning. And your question on what inspired me, so I'll give you the short version of a really long story. What inspired me to start this business in particular, it was my son. So essentially, when I was pregnant with my son, I think all parents get this sudden realization of, what am I doing? I'm about to bring a whole person into this world. And it was even more scary for me because, you know, I was looking at the scan pictures and I said, look, this is going to be a young black boy growing up in South London. And, you know, when you look at the stats of young black men growing up in South London, they're just terrifying for any parent. And so I wanted to kind of see how I could provide him with as many opportunities as possible, because I found that the cause of these horrible stereotypes was the lack of opportunity, was kind of the overarching thing. So I wanted to ensure my son had as many opportunities as possible. So I looked into like three things. I said, I'll give him a sport, an instrument, and a language. And the sport and the instrument were completely fine. I had those in the bag. But when it came to giving him a second language, it was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I don't speak a second language. His dad didn't speak a second language, and no one around us did. And so I tried to learn as much as I possibly could. And, you know, I spent I think 5 months of my pregnancy trying to learn French. And honestly, it was horrible. It was so bad. By the end of it, when he was born, and I think up until about he was 1, I couldn't even utter the word croissant. It was just horrible. And so I was like, why has no one created something that makes it really fun and convenient, and something that really has usable content? So, you know, a lot of the apps that I was using, they taught me things that I would never really say in a day-to-day situation. And I said, look, this is what I'm going to do. And I kept asking, why has nobody else done it? And I thought to myself, why don't you do it? And that's how we started. And since then, it's just been a really, really crazy journey of taking this small little idea of something that I wanted to build for my son and turning it into now a flourishing business. So it's really, really, really long story short, I would say.
What an inspiring story, and you know, what great motivation there from, you know, becoming pregnant and wanting to make that change. And I think, you know, congratulations to you. And I know I've had a little play on the app.
Thank
and
you.
It is something that's super fun and very engaging. I even showed it to the kids and they loved it as well.
Oh, bless.
It would be great to know a little bit more about you. And I know, and I'm sure our listeners wouldn't know this about you, but recently you was in a book. So you was in volume
Mhm.
3 of The Voices in the Shadows. Can you tell us a little bit more about this book? And yeah, and interesting facts. I know that your background comes from quite a male-dominated industry as well. So maybe just give us all a little bit of a highlight on that as well.
Yeah, of course. So, Voices in Shadows, first we'll start there. So, Voices in Shadows, the book, it literally is exactly what it says it is. It's an amazing publication that just kind of allows people, those of us who are not usually given a platform or the freedom to kind of candidly tell our stories and in a way sing our own praises. It gives us that platform to do that. So the book features 50 women each year, well, each volume. And within those, they're all different walks of life, entrepreneurs, employees, all different walks of life. And it just gives us a place to kind of tell our story from our own perspective, and then also sing our own praises and to say exactly what we're proud of ourselves for doing and what we've overcome. And it's just amazing. Sevilla, who runs GTA, is just an absolute rock star. She's such a powerhouse of inspiration. And she was one of the first to feature me when we were still in very much an ideation stage with Play Morgan. And since she'd done that feature, we kind of ended up on UK Tech News from it as well. And it was just such a door opening thing. So I'm forever grateful to her and what she does with GTA, especially the Voices in the Shadows volumes are just such an amazing space to kind of provide that inspiration for the people coming up behind us. Yeah, so love, GTA and Villa and all that they do. And then about my background, you asked. So yeah, I come from two male dominated industries. I spent a couple of years in finance and then I was in construction before. And I spent 10 years in construction, nothing to do with education either. But, yeah, being in a space which is completely male dominated, I mean, I would be on site with my hard hat and my steel toe boots and I'll be the only woman there. And, you just become one of the lads. And I think it gives you such resilience because there's so much that you have to overcome in that space, being the only first and foremost, and then myself as well with my ethnic makeup being like the only black person and the only woman on site. It's just one of those, you build a really, really tough skin. And I think it's been so crucial to my journey of transitioning from that industry into becoming an entrepreneur as well.
I'm sure maybe some of those kind of resilience that you've built up over the years, I'm sure it's definitely helped you on that entrepreneur journey, because I know it's not easy and I know it can be very, very challenging.
100%.
So
yeah, of course, it definitely has.
We'll come into some of that shortly as well in this episode. So on that note, can you share with us then the journey you've been on so far? Maybe walk us through any kind of key pivots or challenges that you faced in setting up your EdTech business.
Yeah, of course. So, as I explained, when I first started this business, it was designed, I was making the app to give to my son and to my son only. I had no intention of making it public. But then I kind of had, when he was swiping around with it and doing what he was doing, friends and family would say, "What is that? That looks amazing." I'm like, "Oh, I've made it for him," and it kind of became a thing where people were like, "This is amazing. You need to release it into the public." So I'd done some very basic product market fit prior to making the decision to turn it public. And yeah, it seemed like something that I should do, and it felt quite selfish to keep it all to myself. So I think it was really hard for me because I was quite reluctant to share it because it became my second baby. And the pivotal moment for me was very much the detachment. understanding that like this little bird needs to fly its nest, but I'll be there to guide it all the way through the journey. You know, it very much became my baby, and now they're 18 going off to uni, and it's like, oh my God. So the business actually became a second child. But yeah, once I detached myself from it, and made it far less personal, things just started to fall into place so naturally. And that was such a blessing. And then, you know, another moment came when it was time to start raising money for the business, and to start kind of splitting the equity, which was really hard because I'd put so much of my own time and thousands of pounds of my own money to build this thing up. And I built it to a place that people actually really enjoyed it. And it's like, now, okay, I need to split my equity and, you know, give some of it away so that it can grow. But that was really hard. And I had a conversation with an old friend of mine, Carl from Black Seed, Carl Loco, and he said to me, would you rather have half of a watermelon or the whole of the grape? And it was such a penny drop moment. It was so pivotal as well, in saying, knowing that I can have everything and have it all of something small. But if I want to grow something big and something great, I need the help to do it. And I would rather have half of something great than all of something small. And that's when I started obviously making the movement to seek investment and growing the team, and, you know, and that's when things have really started to take off even more. So yeah, two very key moments, that detachment and understanding that, okay, it's time to bring people on board and you can't do it all alone, understanding my limitations as well.
And what a great bit of advice. I've never heard that one before. Do you want half a watermelon or the whole of a grape? I love that. So
yeah,
hats off to your friend.
Yeah, such a good one.
I'm going to
thanks, Carl.
You kind of mentioned a bit there, obviously, on some of the challenges, and obviously you shared with us before your background coming from finance and then construction, and then going on to be a female founder of a tech business. From many women that I speak to that have been in this position, coming from that non-technical background, they always have this hesitation of, oh, I don't think I can do it because I don't have that technical understanding. I don't have that technical knowledge to be able to make this a reality. So for any women that are there listening in today that might be in a similar situation to where you was when you started the business, what tips would you give to those non-technical founders that are looking to start up a tech-focused business, so to speak?
Yeah, of course. I think the main thing is to be a student. Learn as much as you possibly can. Take the course, watch the YouTube videos, listen to the podcast, just learn as much as you can, and try and find people to learn from. You know, people are always interested in showing off how much they know, and use that to your advantage. Speak to as many people as you can and tell them, look, I'm interested in this, and let them flex their industry knowledge on you, and just use it and absorb it all. And I think another thing that I did, which I don't think I'm supposed to share this story, but one thing that I did when I was hiring someone to build out the application, I had no idea what I needed them to know. You know, you've got to find out what you need to find out first. So I kind of I wasted a lot of people's time, to be honest. I made a CV up, and in this CV I was an amazing game design person, and I was great at it, and I used it to apply for some jobs at very high level game design companies and game development companies and studios. And the reason why I did this was to find out what questions I needed to ask when I was interviewing people on the interviews. So I would make these applications and I would get the interviews, and on the interviews I would just write down all of the questions that they were asking me. And one of them, this lady had asked me some really technical questions, and I'm just like, can you explain that to me a little bit more? And she was just looking at me like, what is happening? Am I being punked? And I'm so sorry for wasting all those people's time, but I really needed to know what I needed to know from the people who I was employing. So, you've got to you've got to be vulnerable. You've got to be willing to just maybe look like a bit of an idiot for a little while, just to achieve your own goal. And I think the third point that I mean, come on, do it if you want, but it worked. And I would say the third point was really leaning into and truly exploring your transferable skills. I had an amazing background in project management. So, when it came to setting up the business, I looked at it as a project, and I was able to kind of assess the risks within it and just really use what I knew before, especially with negotiation skills, because I was a land buyer at one stage. So the negotiation skills were definitely a skill that I used when it came to hiring people and, outsourcing things. I was able to get prices down just because of those transferable skills. So yeah, I think really 3 top tips are: be a student, explore your transferable skills, and also be willing to look a bit silly. And to explore as much as you learn as much as you can.
Brilliant. I think that's such great advice, and I think people overlook sometimes those transferable skills that they do have and how valuable they are. Yes, you might not know how to build an app, but you've got a whole host of other skills that are going to enable you to get that app built and get that MVP and move things on. So great tips there. And, your things on how you went about getting your questions, that's just the entrepreneur in you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going out there and being vulnerable and finding a way to solve a challenge. And I love that one. So I want
Exactly
to apply on board in those interviews.
I know the faces that I got, and like people were, okay, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm like, can you just ask me one more thing, please? I just need to get another question down. Oh gosh, so embarrassing.
You mentioned before when you spoke about challenges, obviously about raising money. Now we know that raising money, particularly for female founders, it's normally one of the biggest challenges that I hear people talking about. And as a Black woman, as a woman of colour, we know that the stats are shockingly bad, and they it is a really sad space in terms of how the funding is allocated. So if we look at kind of stats on the whole, completely female founded businesses get around about 2% of VC money in the UK.
Yeah.
And Black female entrepreneurs, I think there was a study out, and in the last 10 years, only 10 all-female Black founded companies received funding in 10 years. So we're looking at like one company a year, which is 0.2%.
Yeah.
It's like, it's things do
it's horrible.
change, and it is really, really horrible. So in terms of kind of someone who's been on this journey, and you've obviously been through that raising capital journey as well, could you share with us kind of share with us your experience of raising capital as a Black female founder, and also the type of capital that you raised in the end, and why you decided on that type of capital, if that's okay?
Yeah, of course. So I raised via angels, simply because we just weren't at a stage to attract the VCs that we fit into. The EdTech market is not small, but it is. You need a lot of traction before you get investment in the EdTech market, and I think that goes for everyone operating within the EdTech market, whether you're male, female, Black, white, yellow or orange. I think it's just a really tough industry. So my experience of it, I mean, I know people who have raised VC funds off of less traction than what we had at the time when we were going out to raise angel funds. But, they were all kind of white males with the right friends, which is fine. And, maybe it's the industries that they were in, but, it just always plays in the back of your mind when it comes to raising funds, when you hear these stories. And it's like, I have such an amazing pitch deck. And, these people came, I've had stories of people who come in like with the back of a napkin idea and have raised £1 million. It's like, how'd you do that? My uncle knew someone. It's like, oh, okay, explains everything. Yeah, I mean, it does play in the back of your mind, but I think things are changing because they have to change. These stats are not good for anyone, especially the VC industry. So I think things are changing, and now is really a time when when I advise people to just lean into it and dip your feet in the water and try as much as possible, and also use these stats to your benefit. When you go into those VC meetings or those meetings with angels, bring them up. Bring up the stats and say, okay, is that they may say the typical one for VCs is you're too early stage. And it's like, okay, am I really early stage, or is it because of these statistics? And what do you want to do to change these statistics? Is this part of your agenda? Is it not? And just answer the questions. And usually, I've advised people to do this, and 2 weeks later they get a call back. It's like, we'll come in for a second meeting. Let's see what we could talk about. And it's like, okay, now we're moving. So yeah, just fight back, I would say, when it comes to raising VC. But when it came to us raising via angels, in no way, shape or form was it easy. But I had built up a black book of people way before I even had the idea to start Play Morgan. Working in both the finance and the construction industries, I always did this thing where I had no idea what I would need these people for in the future, but I just made sure I kept a list of people, a list of names. You have a developer coming in and he's just bought a £13 million site, cash, and it's like, okay, I'll write his name down and I'll be really nice. And I was just really nice to them, and just kept this black book over the last 10 years. And then when it did come to time to raise funds and I had an idea, it was so much easier to circle back. So I would say networking is one of your superpowers when it comes to raising funds, whether you're looking at VC or angel, because as I say, it always comes down to who you know as well, and how much people believe in you and what they know about you and how much they can kind of sell you as well. So yeah, that I think that's why I went after the angel funding instead of the VC, because we only had the only things that I had to showcase was like a half working MVP and some great traction, but mostly I had myself and my dream. So it was more feasible for us to go over the angel investment.
Go with the angels. And so many people and so many women actually that I speak to, that they feel much more comfortable going after those angel investors and, having that passion and that idea, having the MVP. They feel like they have a much more closer connection if they can get the angels, obviously, to one, have that initial interest, and then kind of being able to convert that through into someone looking to part with some money, and to help you realise that dream. So that's great, and thank you for sharing. I love your black book idea. It's something that, if you look back, and I think that's the thing for many female founders, there's people that you would have encountered on your journeys, in your careers, that if you really sit down and think about it, there's people you can go out and try and find. And then if not, it's asking what through your network, who in their network might be interested in things like this. And you start to uncover and unearth people that you would be able to potentially just go and pitch an idea to. So I think that's some great feedback. And your tip for those that are getting into having those initial conversations with VCs, addressing that elephant in the room straight up, I think is a genius idea. Putting it on the table, making people think about, and for women going into those rooms, and people of colour going into those rooms, you're typically not sitting there opposite someone who looks like you. So actually elevating and raising that up, I think, is a genius idea to try and pique that interest. One, you've got your amazing pitch deck, but two, you're making them think, actually, am I really giving this the time that's needed? And do I need to bring them back? Do I need to bring a different audience into that room with me?
100%, because it really does come down to subconscious biases. Some people don't intentionally discredit you or kind of push you away. They're just not using their conscious mind and they're not really thinking about anything other than, what is programmed in. And it's time for us to kind of change those narratives, and really give people the chance. So answer the question, make people feel not uncomfortable, but just aware, and bring them back into the actual moment and what product you're trying to sell, or your team and your strengths there. Just really bring them back into the core elements of what they're supposed to be looking at, instead of your ethnic makeup, or where you're from or what school you went to. Bring them back into reality,
into that real life scenario. Really love that tip. In terms of the best advice then that you've given a few kind of gems along the conversation already, but other than Carl's feedback, do you have any other advice that you've received on this journey of building out your company?
Oh my God, yeah, one. And it's an advisor of ours who's on our advisory board, Mike Damiano. He said to me, I'll give some context actually. We were in a moment where it was like kind of, okay, I need to build the team, but the funding that we've got isn't going to stretch for that. And, there were so many things. And he said to me, Chelsea, go to war with the army you have and not the one you want. And honestly, it was such a penny drop moment for me, because it's like, okay, I know what I need in advance, but what we have now, we need to make use of. And it really shifted things because we were kind of exploring different areas and different markets and how we can bring some money in faster. And he said, just go to war with the army you have and not the one that you want. And really forced me to focus on building out what we had and making use of what we had, and, understanding our product more and cementing our product market fit, and really deep diving into our target markets as well. So that was one of the I think that was the best advice that I could have possibly ever gotten at that time. So thanks, Mike.
You've had some great people that have surrounded you on this journey, and I think there's been some real pearls of advice and wisdom that's come along the way. And I think having those people around you, I'm sure when times are hard, have really helped kind of keep you focused and got you to where you are today. So I'm going to be stealing so many of these little bits and pieces.
Yes, please do use them all.
In terms of the kind of the startup world, and if we looked at kind of like the tech startup world, we mentioned it before in terms of female founded or female founded companies. The numbers are starting to improve. Obviously, we know that there's a whole issue from a funding perspective. But what do you think needs to change in the tech startup world to make it more inclusive for female founders?
Good question. I think it mostly comes down to us as people, and really just looking at how we behave, not making it an agenda to be more inclusive, or like a checkpoint, or, hiring people to fill a quota. Because I think that defeats the whole object, really. I think it's definitely how we kind of approach the situation, and just being conscious, giving people the benefit, giving people what they really deserve and the time that they deserve. I mean, if a business is good, if a person is good or has what it takes, give them the chance regardless of their gender, and, just look at the core strengths of that person or that business and what they have to offer. And then I think it comes down to promote them, sing about them, support them in whatever way they uniquely need to be supportive. And, don't generalize that women need childcare support or, free sanitary pads or something. Kind of support what that person actually needs. And then also just allow them the space to self-promote, allow them the space to, stand up and say, look, I've done this, and this, and now I'm here. Because, usually in that conversation, it's usually beneficial for both sides, because they will say, oh, I'm here because they gave me an opportunity. And then, that's how you kind of showcase your inclusivity, instead of just hiring, anyone because they fit the quota. So I think, yeah, it really does come down to us and our consciousness and just bringing ourselves into the moment, really, and really into whatever moment it is, whether it's like hiring someone or, you know, what companies you feature in your magazine, in the startup world, or what ones you give the time for your podcast, you know. So I think, yeah, really just bringing yourself into the facts of everything.
Perfect. I love that. And I think, so I cannot agree with you more. Being more conscious, being more aware, being present, I think is such a key thing, and listening and giving voices to everybody, and being able to kind of take on
Yeah.
those different perspectives. So I couldn't agree with you more, and some great tips and advice. And yeah, for anyone listening in, be it if you're an employer hiring, if you're a founder that's about to go on a journey, or you're an investor that's about to invest, it's just about being a bit more open and kind of broadening your own horizons, really, isn't it? We're pretty much at the end of the episode. So to wrap up today, it would be great to kind of understand, or to hear from you, what's the accomplishment that you're most proud of so far with Play Morgan Studios, and what's next for the company, and yeah, what's coming up down, kind of going into 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, of course. So accomplishments we're most proud of, I think really just being here today in this position, and making it through the mud. Because, you know, being a bootstrapped, solo founded black lead business, it's been hard.
Yeah.
And, you know, I make a note in my calendar of all of the days that I wanted to quit. And I done a recap, and there was like 14 days in like the last year, which I was ready to quit and throw the towel in. And, you know, just being here today and managing to get through all of those tough moments, you know, when you lose the partnership that you've been working on for, I don't know, months and months, or something doesn't come through, or someone, you know, you've got a really good member of the team who's now left to go and get a full-time job because you can't afford to pay them. So I think just being here today and roughing it out and just going through the journey is really, I'm really proud of that. And what's next for us? Oh, it's so exciting. So we're redevelopment of the app of Fluency Runner. We're relaunching that by the end of this year. We've got some really, really exciting partnerships that I wish I could scream about, but I can't yet. But we've got some really, 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 really exciting partnerships to come. And yeah, we're continuing to raise funds, and just using that to fuel the continued growth and really deliver a product and products, I would say with an S, plural, that really do help improve people's daily life and just help people on this journey of personal development. So I'm really excited to see what change we can make in people's lives, and really excited to kind of share what we've been working on so hard with you all.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing so much with us today. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to speak with you, and learning more, not only about Play Morgan Studios, but learning more about you as a woman, as a female founder, and the journey that you've been on. If there's anybody that's listening in that would love to reach out, ask you questions, I don't know, if anyone would like to know more about Play Morgan Studios, what would be the best ways for people to connect and explore you kind of a bit more on the web?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So you can reach out to me via LinkedIn. Please do. It's Chelsea Maffia. I never come up on your search, but please, hopefully you'll find me. And to find Play Morgan, obviously our first application is called Fluency Runner, and it's available on both app stores. And our website is www.playmorganstudio.com. Yeah, please check us out, and I'm hoping that you will really enjoy the apps that we put out there. Yeah, reach out to me if ever.
Perfect. And I'll put links to all of what you just mentioned there in the episode details as well on Spotify and the different places that we put things out. So please feel free to engage with Chelsea direct. And that's it for today. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.